Spookiest time of the year, and I watched only one horror film this month, and that was Scream 6, which I have a separate review for. Wanted to do like a bunch of other films, like a proper Halloween special, like a movie a week, but October was just super stuffed for me personally, in my personal life, so I just couldn't keep up. But the first film I watched this month was Pulp Fiction because of Halloween, really. Alright, just don't judge my outfit. Allow the wig. I know everybody was saying the wig is awful, the wig is awful. I know, it was the cheapest one I could find. But yeah, I loved Pulp Fiction. My first time watching it last year, and upon a rewatch, I love it 10 times more than that. The script, the line deliveries, and just everything in realms of how conversations carried this film, with fun, interesting, and entertaining plot points happening in every scene, and it all just coming together to create this overarching story. Was never the biggest fan of Quentin Tarantino. The first film I watched by him was Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and I hate that movie so much. But now that I've watched like a bunch of films in his filmography, I see the vision, I see the hype, and I need to watch more of his films, basically. Then the next film I watched was Dumb Money with my sister, and she was part of the reasons why my uploads were slow, but let's not throw her under the bus. Had an entire review for this ready to record, but just never had the time, and I felt like the phase of the movie just passed by. But regardless, Clancy Brown, another movie under his belt this year, he's just been winning. Loved everyone in this film. Seth Rogen, Paul Dano, the girl from Divergent, even Vincent D'Onofrio is in it. It was a fun film. I loved the story it was trying to tell. Modern story. I had no idea this ever happened compared to The Big Short or something. Do not know why I always pick on this film, but didn't really like it. But it kept me super invested in the story, and the writing was superb, as well as its directing and editing. It never felt like a drag, not one bit. And it also helped that the jokes were funny in the film. And then I went to go watch The Burial. Thought this was gonna get a cinema release, but I was just happy enough to watch it. Really wanted to watch it because of the whole Jamie Foxx situation. Hope he gets better. And I think he also did a film about him voicing a dog or something, but I'm not gonna watch that. But this was an alright film. I love films based on true events, and I think Jamie was really good, as well as Tommy Lee Jones. Oh my god, that dude from Succession was also in this. But honestly, this is just a movie. There's nothing really spectacular about it. Some of the jokes were funny, I cannot lie, but I feel like one of my problems with it was when he was trying to be serious, it just took a bite away from the film, because like, it wasn't just really leaning towards that part, and it just felt forced. And this wasn't where like the film was heading, but they just took it to that direction. Overall, I enjoyed myself, and I was just happy to be entertained for 2 hours. And then I watched Cloverfield. I watched No One Will Save You. And I'm not really a big fan of this one, I cannot lie. To be honest, I do not know why I did not drop a separate review for this, because I think I had the time, but I just didn't enjoy it too much. Probably because I spot this film for myself going into it. Hence why I watched like 50% of it, like not really focused on it. But for my analysis of the film, from when I was paying full attention, it was really, really boring. And I think that's why I was just not invested in it. It just didn't grasp my attention. I think the girl in it was super good. I think her acting was amazing. She was just literally acting with grunts and expressions. At least one thing I'll praise this movie on is that it accomplished everything with such a little budget. If you showed me this and Expendables, I would think this would be a more expensive film. I think the alien design, there are multiple designs, and I think each of them has something we've seen before, but they didn't look bad. I'll give them that, and it all looked cool. But overall, for me, the film was super boring. It just wasn't interesting. Next film I watched was Killers of the Flower Moon. I'm not going to talk too much about this, because when I realized this film was 3.5 hours long, I already knew I was doomed. Especially because my screening ended at midnight and I had to travel to a country the next day. But I still strived and went out to go watch this film. And it's crazy to think, correct me if I'm wrong, this is the first Martin Scorsese film that has Leonardo DiCaprio and Robert De Niro, all three of them involved in it. Because like, for a first movie with the three of them, I expected more from each of the two, because to be fair, Martin Scorsese did an amazing job with this film. But like, it's not possible for the both of them to put out a bad performance. They're just that good as actors with so much experience, and they're talented. But like, I just expected more from them to try and like, surpass each other. Don't get me wrong, they're both really good in this film, but it's nowhere near their best performance that I have seen them in. But regardless, Lily Gladstone is really super, super good in this. From memory, she doesn't really talk too much in this, but you can just feel her presence in like most of the scenes she's in, with the few lines she takes, her facial expressions, her body movements. Just, it sounds like a cliche, but like, she was just super good in this. Jesse Plemons is also in it, just for a little bit, but I love him. He's so unintentionally funny. Him and Paul Dano, I don't know, there's just something about the two of them. Brendan Fraser is also in this. Nice to see him. I had to contain myself from screaming when I saw his character, but not like anyone could have done much, because the turnout for the screening of this movie was so scanty. But regardless, I really enjoyed this film. Not anywhere near one of my best Scorsese films, but I think he told a riveting crime tale really well, and I think the way he ended the film was pretty neat too. I love that. And finally, I watched The Hunger Games, all 4 of them, in anticipation for the new prequel film. Should have a separate review out for them, but here's my brief run through all of them. Put in mind, some of these opinions could change, as I might rewatch them again for that video. The first one was as a standalone film, isn't great. Don't get me wrong, it's paced really well enough to call it a glorified prologue for the second. And when me personally, I look at this as that, it's really good. When I look at the first one as a prologue, it's so good, and that helps, as the second film, Catching Fire, is absolutely amazing. Fixed all my issues with the first one, just made it an interesting and fun sequel that just carried me throughout. And the last two, can't really say much about those two, because I really need to rewatch those films for my full analysis. I just didn't like them that much, especially the third. The fourth was alright, but hopefully it will all be in that separate video. I hope I don't get lazy and I postpone it, but we'll see. And finally, for TV shows, still some ongoing stuff from previous months, but I watched Invincible Season 1 again for my long-awaited Season 2. Can't just wait to watch that. Season 1 was fantastic. Every time I watch it, it just seems to get better, but the animation isn't that good. But I see they changed it for the new one, and I'll just have to wait to find out. But spoilers if you haven't watched Invincible. Time codes down below. I actually think the Guardians of the Globe could have killed Nolan. And how did Cecil not analyze that suit from the start? I knew he found out about the stuff pretty early, but come on, man. And finally, Loki. Mentioned I was going to do a separate video for that, and yeah, I know I didn't do it. I'm sorry. Something came up. But I'll try and do a season roundup if I enjoyed the season. I'm a couple episodes behind, but I have been super busy, as I mentioned. But I enjoyed it so far. Episode 1 was really good. Personally, I felt like episode 2 took a couple steps back, but I'll catch up with it as soon as I can, and hopefully it gets better from episode 2. But that just wraps it up with this video. Got 2 more of these to do in the year. Feels like I've done 50 of these. Thank you for watching. If you are still watching right now, I really appreciate it, and I hope you have a nice day and even a better month. Thank you. Peace.